This week, former President Donald Trump made headlines with a bold move. He announced the deployment of 2 American submarines to undisclosed locations near Russia. The exact positions remain secret, heightening global intrigue. Trump's decision was a rapid response to provocative statements from former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. The move caught world leaders and experts off guard, raising urgent questions about U.S.-Russia relations. On his social media, Trump called the deployment a necessary answer to dangerous rhetoric. He described it as a precaution, meant to deter escalation without firing a shot. The timing was immediate, underscoring how quickly international politics can shift. Trump warned Medvedev that his words were crossing a line. This public exchange, played out on social media, is a new kind of open diplomacy. The world watched tensions rise in real time, fueling uncertainty. The deployment is classic gunboat diplomacy, using military assets to send a message. Submarines, symbols of U.S. power, were moved not to start war, but to set boundaries. Trump's message: the U.S. has limits, and they're being tested. Now the world waits. Will this show of strength cool tempers or inflame them? The stakes are high and every move is under scrutiny. This is not just about military might, but about controlling the narrative. Trump's announcement signals a new phase in U.S.-Russia brinkmanship. The next steps could shape the future of global security. All eyes are on what happens next. The world holds its breath. The current standoff didn't appear overnight. It's the latest chapter in the Ukraine conflict. The U.S. issued Russia a 10-day ultimatum: agree to a ceasefire by August 8, 2025, or face tougher sanctions. This was a sharp escalation from a previous 50-day deadline, signaling U.S. impatience. The message: negotiations are over, it's time for decisions. The new sanctions wouldn't just target Russia, they'd hit key trading partners like China and India, aiming to isolate Moscow. This move raises the stakes for the global economy, not just Russia. The U.S. is playing high-stakes chess, forcing Russia into a corner. But such bold moves carry risks. They can backfire, leading to more conflict instead of peace. The shortened deadline and threat of wider sanctions created a tense, volatile atmosphere. In this charged environment, Medvedev's fiery response set the stage for a dangerous war of words. The world is watching to see if this ultimatum leads to peace or deeper confrontation. The U.S. is betting that pressure will force Russia's hand. But the risk of escalation is real. Every move now has global consequences. The next days will reveal whether this gamble pays off. The stakes couldn't be higher. The U.S. is using every tool, diplomatic and economic, to force a breakthrough. But the outcome remains uncertain. The world waits for Russia's answer. Will it be negotiation or escalation? The clock is ticking, the pressure is on, the future of the conflict hangs in the balance. The world braces for what comes next. Medvedev fired back, calling the U.S. ultimatum a provocation and a step toward war. He used social media to issue a chilling reminder: Russia's nuclear arsenal and the legendary dead hand system. The dead hand, real or not, symbolizes the ultimate doomsday scenario: automatic nuclear retaliation. Medvedev's message: push Russia too far, and the consequences could be catastrophic. Washington took notice, alarmed by the escalation from sanctions to nuclear threats. U.S. officials tried to downplay Medvedev's influence, insisting Putin holds the real power. But Medvedev's words reflect the mindset of Moscow's elite. His rhetoric forced Trump's hand, prompting the submarine deployment as a show of American resolve. The conflict shifted from economic pressure to existential threats. The specter of nuclear war, once a relic of the Cold War, is back in the conversation. Leaders on both sides are treading dangerous ground. The world is reminded how quickly words can escalate into crisis. The stakes are no longer just about Ukraine, they're about global survival. The U.S. and Russia are locked in a high-risk standoff. Every statement now carries the weight of history. The world hopes cooler heads will prevail. The submarines Trump deployed are among the most powerful weapons in the U.S. arsenal. Known as the Silent Service, these nuclear-powered vessels can remain hidden underwater for months. The U.S. Navy operates 71 nuclear submarines, including 14 Ohio-class ballistic missile subs. Each Ohio-class sub can carry up to 20 Trident II missiles, each with multiple nuclear warheads. The destructive power on board surpasses all the bombs used in World War II. These subs are a core part of America's nuclear triad, alongside bombers and land-based missiles. Trump didn't specify which type was deployed, and the Pentagon remains silent. Secrecy is their strength. Adversaries never know where they are. This uncertainty creates a powerful deterrent. Even the possibility of a nearby U.S. sub forces adversaries to think twice. Whether armed with nuclear missiles or not, Their presence sends a clear message. These subs guarantee the US can strike back even after a surprise attack. This is the logic of mutually assured destruction. MAD, the principle that kept the Cold War cold. By announcing their movement, Trump is leveraging their symbolic power. It's a calculated signal. The US is ready and watching. The world is reminded of the destructive potential lurking beneath the waves. The message is unmistakable. Don't test America's resolve. The stakes are as high as ever. Trump's submarine announcement sent shockwaves worldwide. In Russia, official silence masked surprise and unease among Moscow's elite. Medvedev himself was reportedly caught off guard by the speed of the US response. In the US, officials tried to calm tensions, downplaying Medvedev's authority. Some experts criticized Trump's public approach, warning it could lead to dangerous misunderstandings. US allies in Europe and Asia watched nervously, fearing escalation between the world's top nuclear powers. Global markets reacted instantly. Moscow's stock exchange dropped, reflecting investor anxiety. The episode showed how a single announcement can ripple from social media to financial markets worldwide. Every action now triggers global reactions. The world is interconnected and on edge. Allies hope for diplomacy, not confrontation. The stakes are global, not just bilateral. Leaders everywhere are watching, hoping for restraint. The world waits for the next move. Experts say Trump's announcement is more about signaling than shifting military reality. US submarines are always on patrol. This move is about perception, not deployment. The real change is the public nature of the threat. Analysts argue the quiet presence of subs is usually enough deterrent. The announcement is meant to get inside Russian leaders' heads, showing Trump's unpredictability. It's a psychological play, not a strategic one. Russia already knows about US capabilities. The message is for both Moscow and the world. The move may be aimed at domestic audiences, projecting strength. The risk misinterpretation could lead to escalation. The strategy is high risk, relying on the other side reading the signal as intended. The military balance hasn't shifted, but the psychological pressure has. Trump wants Russia to believe he's serious about his ultimatum. The world is left to interpret the signal and hope it's not misunderstood. In this standoff, perception is as powerful as reality. The next steps will reveal if the gamble works. Behind the military drama, Trump made a diplomatic move. He sent Special Envoy Stephen Witkoff to Moscow, possibly to meet Putin. This signals a dual strategy: public pressure, private negotiation. Russian media called it a magician's trick, unexpected and unpredictable. The envoy likely carries Trump's direct message, clarifying US demands and consequences. Face-to-face talks can achieve what public threats can't. This approach, threats and diplomacy, keeps adversaries guessing. It's a gamble. Will pressure push Russia to negotiate or signal US uncertainty? The outcome depends on what happens in the coming days. The world is watching to see if this diplomatic rabbit leads to a breakthrough. Success could de-escalate the crisis. Failure could make things worse. The stakes for diplomacy have never been higher. Trump's strategy isn't new. He's used public military threats before. In 2017, he sent an armada to North Korea during a nuclear standoff. The world braced for war, but the crisis led to historic talks with Kim Jong-un. Trump's method: create a crisis, then pivot to negotiation. It's loud, public, and keeps adversaries off balance. But Russia isn't North Korea. It's a nuclear superpower. The risks are far greater. A misstep could be catastrophic. Past success doesn't guarantee future results. Each situation is unique, and the stakes with Russia are much higher. The world wonders, is this a repeat of a winning tactic, or a step toward disaster? Trump's approach is bold, but the consequences could be historic. The next moves will determine if this is brinkmanship or blunder. The world is watching, and the margin for error is razor thin. The world stands at a crossroads. The August 8th deadline looms. Will Russia agree to a ceasefire or escalate? New sanctions could shake the global economy and provoke Moscow. The risk of miscalculation grows with every move. Diplomatic efforts like Witkoff's mission offer hope for de-escalation. Success could open a path to peace. Failure could deepen the crisis. The presence of nuclear weapons makes this standoff uniquely dangerous. Leaders must find a way to resolve differences without war. The choices made now will shape global security for years. The world waits, hoping for wisdom over confrontation. The future hangs in the balance.